a component, and because of that, that will facilitate the communication. Okay. Uh, Say that again, Ashwini. Yeah, that's what we were discussing at the start, right? That native binding, of course, yeah, it's a tightly coupled. It's like a tightly coupled binding, but in certain cases, it's a very valid scenarios. Like I was saying that in sometimes when you are calling another service which is not, let's say this hello service which is in SOA. Let's say it is a very specific service to it is not an enterprise level service. Okay. But then enterprise level service, but then there is a benefit by there is always a benefit by doing a native call because that's much faster. Okay. Let's say there is not like much translation going on, and again, let's say we don't even want to translate. It's like a Java, direct Java content that you're getting through OSP. You want to just let's say you're exposing a EJP interface. Okay. Exposing an EJP interface. So see, when you're exposing an EJP interface, then automatically that means like there's a Java client on the other side, right? Because he will be calling his. That's why you are exposing your service as EJB. And then now that EJB on the back end, now again you don't have to go over the WSDL because in sometimes that may be the case that because for decoupling you want to keep it that way. But if the backend service that you are calling is not like enterprise level service, just a local service, to that particular domain, then let's say by calling it natively, you're not getting yourself into a very coupled scenario, then yeah, there is that flexibility available. Okay. So it is not that every other service, you will be using the direct binding. It is a toolkit, right? SOA and OS is a toolkit, and they should be able to allow like various types of configurations. So there are some very valid cases where doing that the SOA direct calls is very valid. And in those cases, uh, uh, just a second, guys. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be here. Okay. So thanks. So in that case, SOA direct binding is like perfectly valid. Okay. See, one other thing I just wanted to like jog down is so let's say this is your SCA composite, right? So SCA composite is made up of like multiple components, right? So you have your BIPL component, you have OSB, your mediator component, and workflow, and many other things. So your SCA composite is a conglomeration of all these components, right? But then in order to so you make it available through some type of binding, right? Let's say you are just exposing as a SOAP service, right? So a SOAP based binding is created, right? That is what you see in the exposed link. These bindings are not part of your composite per se, but these are the because see, each binding at runtime, each binding is has a different kind of information in it, right? So this binding, let's say, because at runtime these are all Java classes, right? So this binding understands the SOAP. Okay, when a SOAP when a message comes in, it can translate this. Since it understands SOAP, it can translate this message accordingly, and then it can pass on the call inside. right? Now, since we are doing Java to Java, um, so you will create a binding as such, because in binding it is not just information, right? Once the information is received, there are the correlation headers, this and this, there are like many other things going on. Okay, so this binding component understands the Java direct call. So here, when this message, whatever message is coming, this is really directly Java content, right? So this binding component, kind of understands that, and then it will, send and then it will pass on the message to the component that it is tied to. Okay. Um, so this is the when we have to do direct expose a direct Java, this one, then you will use that direct binding component. Okay, this one, which is the one we created. Okay, now uh, we will go back to yeah, here. This was SOA to OSP, right? Now this one, so hello sync business service, right? And directly creating another business service here. Okay, instead of creating another project. Now this is okay. Let's understand this a little bit. Let's understand this a little bit. Here, now we are doing asynchronous, right? Not synchronous. So what does it mean? Um, so there you have this endpoint, which is endpoint, and then OSB is configured to call this endpoint. But since this is an asynchronous endpoint, there is a whoever is calling this port type, there is a there is it is required that he provides the callback interface, right? It provides the callback. So when so OSB needs to provide the callback interface. It needs to provide the callback interface. So initial call will go like this. Okay, so the as step one, call will go this way, and in step two, some processing is done here, right? Some async processing is done. Once the processing is done, then it needs to call this. It needs to call this interface. Okay, so it is as if like then it follows that this should be a proxy service, right? SOA is doing like a one-way invocation, right? Which is what asynchronous communication is. So for that, so you have to provide a proxy service. But then again, it is the business service, which is so it is like this, right? So this is the business service. Okay, it called the SOA service. Okay, it made a call to the SOA service, and it is waiting here. Okay, uh, and then so what we are saying now, SOA would have to call the callback, right? So for that, we are saying we will create another something called proxy. Okay, and expose that. So what SOA will do, this is step one. Okay, and as part of two, when the synchronous service has a message, it will call proxy. Now, but the business service is waiting here at this point, right? It is waiting because it sent the request. Now it is waiting because it is not going to sleep, no dehydration stuff and all of that. That's only in this step, right? So it is a synchronous. I mean, technically, it is like waiting for the response, right? When we use this SOA direct transports for a business service, yeah, it provides a hook where you can give the name of the proxy service that will be getting the message. Okay, so we will see that field when configuring the business service. So at that time,